Hi everyone, welcome to my video. You know the drill. If it's your first time here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like, share this video with anyone who you think would benefit a lot from viewing this content. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's because of you that I'm still doing this. Straight into today's video. Today's video is a very happy video. I do know that I barely put out any negative content, but today's video is especially positive because I have some good news. Some of you who've been keeping up with me on Instagram, you do know that I did finish my ACCA exams, all 13 papers. You know how big of a deal that is if you have started your ACCA journey or if you're working towards any accounting qualification, given that most of them involve the same type of effort, typically around the same number of exams as well. It is a big deal. So last month I received the good news that I had passed my options papers, and that's why I put out actually a video on how to pass your options papers, some tips on that, things that I'd learned the hard way. Just so that even you don't have to go through the same thing. And today's video is simply to update you all on my journey, a part 2 of my ACCA journey. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure to click on the right hand side. I'll definitely put a link in the description box as well. My first ever video was around this time last year on ACCA. When I give you some tips on where I am with my journey, some tips on self-studying, given that my journey has been quite different to many, in that I self-studied from my first paper all through to my last paper. What I mean by self-studying is I literally purchased the study text, purchased the Q&A manual or workbook, depending on which vendor you go for, and I just worked it through myself after work. So I work as well, I have a 9 to 5, and I'll just work through the study text and sit for the exam. So I enrolled for the exams by myself, and a lot of my videos you'll see that are based on my journey, like how do you actually enroll. A lot of you ask me those questions: where do I get my study material, how do I enroll for exams? Because maybe some of you have used you've used a tuition provider and they enroll for exams on your behalf. This video is not about all that. This video is to update you guys on how it feels to actually finish. I mean, it's possible to finish. Can you imagine? It doesn't feel like the case when you've been doing this for quite a bit. And also give you some tips on things that I found very important as I went through my journey. Of course, if we do have some time, I don't want this video to be too long. I will also answer some of the questions you have been sending me through email or Q&A, also on the comments in my videos. But if we don't get to that, don't worry. My next video will be a Q&A video, and I will answer all your questions for those of you who I haven't addressed already. So last month, I got the good news that I had passed my options papers. I was very scared of the results because it was not the first time I'd sat for these papers. They were actually both resits, and I couldn't imagine having to sit down again and study for them again for the December session. So I was really keen to finish my ACCA. Anyone who has worked through all the different levels, applied knowledge, applied skills, and strategic professional papers, you know how frustrating, how tiring it is to do ACCA, and all of us want to finish. So I couldn't imagine not finishing. But again, I knew it wasn't the end of the world. If I hadn't passed, I would just register for the next exam session. So when I got the news, I can tell you for sure how happy I was. So happy. I don't think anything else for the next longest time can faze me. I am extremely happy. Can you imagine you can finish ACCA? I mean, it might sound stupid to some of you, like, I mean, of course you can't finish it, but when you are in the thick of things, it is important to know that there is an end to it. And I wanted to highlight, that brings me to my first point that I wanted to highlight. It is worth it. When you're there working through all the study text after you're tired after work, when you're going through those questions, when you're having to do resits, it is worth it. You might wonder, do I have to put myself through this? I might as well just carry on with my job. I don't need to stress myself. It is worth it. The feeling you get at the end of everything is worth it. You forget. It's like, I hear, because I haven't gotten a child. You know all the labor that you go through, and then you get your child, and you literally forget all the efforts that you had to go, like, you forget everything that was negative with regards to that journey. You just remember the positive. That is exactly the feeling. I haven't bore any child, so I can't talk on that, but from what I hear, it is similar. It feels, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I think you can see it in me. It is worth it. Another thing that is very obvious, but I want to highlight from the other side, it comes to an end, guys. Like, I don't even know what to do with my evenings now. Like, I was so used to studying. Every time there's always something to look forward to. There's always an exam to study for after you finish another. Even if you pass that one, you know, okay, now I need to prepare for the next one. It does come to an end. Can you imagine? 13 papers down the line. It does come to an end, guys. So push through. I've had an off and on relationship with ACCA. Because I was self-studying and self-funding. There was not really any external factors pushing me to do ACCA. Other than the fact that you see the dent in your account and you're like, okay, I might as well get value for my money. But there was no employer who was pushing me, or no external pressure. So it was really down to my commitment. And when I started off, I was doing 3 exams per exam session. I was all guns blazing, and true to fact, the initial papers are quite simple. So, you know, when you pass exams, you get even more motivation to do the next level of papers. Soon, I started realizing that I needed to get a new exam strategy, because the one I had of reading half the book to get the pass mark was not working anymore, because you can only play with ACCA for so long. Like, you will need to get serious real fast as you progress through the levels. So soon I started realizing I can't really keep up with 3 exams per session, and also work was getting quite serious. So I started reducing the number of papers I was doing, and it did reach a point where I was doing 1 exam per year. And you can only imagine how long that would take if you were to keep up a pace of only 1 exam per year. So I did have to pick up my pace. I did have to get a bit more serious if I really wanted to do this. So that brings up a point that I wanted to highlight in terms of tips for ACCA. Just additional tips. I share a lot of tips on this channel. But one of the things I wanted to definitely put out there that has been very important in enabling me to come to the end of my ACCA journey is perseverance, endurance, being committed, registering for that exam even if you don't know how you're going to prepare yourself for that exam. Once you've registered for your exam, then you know you have to sit for it. So you'd rather register. I work backwards. That's how I do it. I register for an exam, then I know I have 3 months or 6 months, depending on which session I've signed up for. I know that, okay, I have 6 months to prepare. If you're literally working for the other way around, where you're reading and waiting to be ready to register for an exam, my friend, you're gonna be there for a long time. You'll never be ready. Especially when you're self-studying, you'll never be ready. So you might as well push yourself, of course, to the limits that you can actually endure, because your mental wellness is much better than, it is more important than exams. But if you don't push yourself, you will not progress. You have to do what you can handle, but also push yourself. Even you know how much you can deal with, and make sure that you're pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself, and you, most of all, you are progressing. Even if you decide that year, depending on your personal circumstances, you can only do 1 exam a year, do it. It's much better than doing nothing. So while you're pushing yourself, just know that don't compare yourself to other people. Your journey is your journey. If it takes you 5 years, if it takes you 7 years, no one is there policing your ACCA journey. As long as you finally finish, that is what matters in the end. No employer will be there asking you, how long did it take you to get your ACCA qualification? They just want to know, are you qualified or not? So it doesn't matter how long it's taken you so far, that's in the past. If you do want to get your ACCA qualification, do what it takes to finish it. Don't look back and say, be discouraged. Don't focus on the past, focus on the future, because it does come to an end. As I've shown you, as I'm evidence of that, it comes to an end, guys, and it is worth it. Another point I wanted to highlight, plan. Nothing, I don't even know how to explain this. You can't play with ACCA. You have to plan and you have to prepare. As I'd mentioned earlier, you might decide to work backwards like I did, register for the exam and then prepare. There's some people who prefer to prepare and only register for the exam when they're ready. It's down to you, it's down to how you work. But if you do not prepare, it will show. When you have failed an exam, and I have actually shot a video on this, what to do when you failed your exam, but I think it's important to re-highlight in this video. It is sit down and be honest with yourself. Did I really do what it takes to pass that exam? Most of the time, if it's similar to my journey, most likely there's something that you didn't do enough. Most of the time when you've gotten that result, you know why you got that result. It is very rare for you to be fully prepared and not pass, because the effort you put in is directly proportional to the marks you get out of it. However, I will highlight something on this. You might know the theory, you might know all the principles because you've gone through the study text, but if you've not practiced, you will not know how to apply it in the exam. Especially as you start progressing through to the advanced type of papers, where it is less about the theoretical concepts and more about how you apply them to a situation. You really need to be very tactful, very strategic with how you study for your exam. Because yes, you do need to know the theoretical principles, but it is just as important for you to practice and know what the examiner wants. When you walk into that exam room, it is Hunger Games. I've mentioned this in a previous video, which I'll tag here. It is Hunger Games. Fight for your marks. Literally, if you need to do certain things to get the marks, do them. When you enter into that exam room, you'll be very surprised. This has happened to me many times, where you literally just get 2 marks from the pass mark. And you know that you knew the concepts. Maybe it was just something small, which if you had practiced and knew what the examiner looks for, you would have gotten them. So especially as you start doing more practical case study type of papers, it is very important for you to know what the examiner wants, to know how to structure your answer, to know the depth that's required in each question to get the most out of it. And this is where you might need assistance. Now, I fully self-studied, and I'm not here to tell you that self-studying is the only way you can pass ACCA. I'm just here to encourage anyone who maybe doesn't have the funds to get a tuition provider that it is still possible. One thing I will tell you, and I will keep it real in this channel, self-studying is hard. Self-studying requires a lot of discipline and dedication. Self-studying requires a lot of sacrifice. So when you are deciding to self-study, just be aware of that. And the minute that you are honest with yourself, then you will put in the energy that's required. You will put in everything, 120% of yourself into it. It is very possible. I am evidence of it. I was not taught by anyone. I did not pay anyone. All that I did is I paid Amazon. I bought my books, got my books from Amazon, all my study manuals, sat here in my desk, and literally studied. That is not the easiest method, but it is a very, very possible and feasible method if you put in all the energy that you need. So many people who choose to self-study, my reasons were that it was the cheapest option. This was something I was self-funding. It's something that there wasn't any time pressure to it, so I was going to study in my downtime. It has worked out for me. It can work out for you. But if you are really struggling, genuinely, if you're really struggling, especially as you do the more advanced papers, if you do have funds that you can use to get maybe a tuition provider, maybe a tutor literally to walk you through it, do it. I mean, this life, In this life, you don't need to choose the hardest option. Honestly, you don't need to choose the hardest option. Choose what works for you. ACCA journey is very personal to you. There's some people who prefer to learn with someone. If that is your method, go ahead. But I'm here to show you that you can't do it by yourself. It's not the only method, but it is a very doable method. So, I didn't want this video to be too long, but I hope from those few points that I've added on top of the many other tips that I share on my ACCA playlist on YouTube, I'm just here to encourage each and every one of you that you can do it. It is possible and it is worth it. What next for me? I'm now no longer a student, I'm an affiliate. So what that means is I still haven't gotten the full qualification yet, because for you to get fully qualified, you do need to get all the practical experience requirements signed off. So I'm in the process of signing my practical experience off, and as soon as I have that, I will apply for the full membership to become an ACCA member. So once you've done all your exams, you do progress through to affiliate status, and you then can apply to become a full member once you are done with all the practical experience requirements. I am super excited that I don't have to enter any exam room anytime soon. However, knowing Belinda, I have already started another certification. I will show you here. It's called CISA. I'm also self-studying, same method. It has worked for me. I'm willing to put in the effort that's required, but it's always good to progress yourself. Do whatever it takes for you to excel in your career. Do what will help you stand out, help you demand that salary increase, help you differentiate yourself and go for that promotion. Do what it takes to get the best out of your life. I wish you all the best, and look out for my Q&A video, because this video has been quite lengthy, so I won't answer any questions in this one just yet, but look out for it. It's coming very soon, where I'll address all the questions that you might have. Feel free to ask anything else in the comment section, and you know how I do it. I will address each and every one of them in some of the upcoming videos. Have a good weekend. Bye.